Did everyone just get really quiet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus. Love the energy tonight.
Welcome back, everybody, to Dungeon Brew. We are back here on the short rest for episode 4, talking about what happened in our game last night and the events that occurred. And I'm going to turn it right over to the guys, for you guys to discuss the party that you had. Who wants to start?
The party was fun. I thought that was a fun party.
Yeah.
I think the thing that I wanted to mention first and foremost was I liked the games, and I don't think that this wasn't really visible like in the chat for people who were watching, but you had a list of all the games with the rules for all of them. And I'm a little disappointed that we just didn't have the time to play more of the games, because the ones that we got to play, I think, were a lot of fun. So I particularly wanted to try some egg rolling and see how that went, but in general, I thought the games were a lot of fun.
I was actually hoping, it was like anything else you guys want to do before they get to the end thing. I figured you guys were going to be like, oh, I want to try this game or try that game, and nobody really said anything. Like, it just kind of got quiet, and I thought you guys were going to take some time just to engage a little bit more in that. Like, even with the prophecy game that I had with the leave throwing, I set that one up specifically for Jason's character because wisdom's his best stat. And I had multiple prophecies he could have found out to see what the battle was going to look like for the people attacking in the moments to come. And you guys just never engaged in this.
I think that's part of the problem of being on this time crunch, right? Doing the episodic thing. Like,
exactly.
I knew we had to get through that thing. I knew we had to get through, we had to, right?
We had to at least get through the night.
I think that was part of my, like, we got what we needed. Let's move on because we don't have time to. And that it would have been nice to, but like I said, it's one of those. I think that's the catch-22 of the way we're kind of doing this one. You know, we're trying to keep it on track, right?
No, I had the same thoughts where it was like we got to get through what we got to get through tonight, and so definitely wasn't looking to add additional time for things that didn't seem important at the time.
Yeah, I understand that concern. I actually had the final battle built in waves, so if you guys did more game stuff, I was just going to limit the waves of things that were coming in.
Oh, it could have been easier?
Yeah.
If only we played more games. We got punished.
We would have rolled those damn eggs.
Yeah. But I was excited about the games too. I pulled all those from actually old Slavic traditions, specifically around the solstice for different things that could be done, and I was excited to see some of them come about too.
Yeah.
I think we do need to address, though, the elephant in the room, that we actually succeeded in our plan.
We actually followed the plan.
Yeah, we followed the plan and succeeded on it.
There was following, executing. The rolls didn't kill us in our plan.
No, a couple of sketchy spots.
A couple of those rolls were pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, your conversation and which is funny because we went back and forth on how to win them over, and it seems like basically we did both. First, it was like, "Hey, for the future, save our history," and then it was like, "Well, I could just tell her it's not a real one or something and get her to exchange it for these two." It's like, all right.
Yeah.
Well, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever you think is going to work. You know your sister better.
Well, it's funny. It was before the game. Greg was on just chatting with me, guys. He's like, man, we always make a plan, and then we spend all this time like getting ready for it, and then it comes down to the wire, and none of us execute it. We all do our own thing, and it just completely fails. You guys actually stuck to it this time. I don't know that that's ever happened in 20 years of D&D.
Count on a single hand, maybe two.
So I gotta say, to be fair, none of the events really went awry from the intended plan, which I think was part of it.
Yeah.
So that's usually what happens. I think Greg's was probably the most likely to run into a hiccup, and we kind of had the additional manuscript built in already as a catch-all in case that happened. But both of the other ones, like, we didn't even need a roll to get Kel's manuscript swapped out. Like, that was just for free, basically. And then because the Adele was terrible at drinking,
yeah, he likes his drink so much.
yeah, he
can't
passed.
hold it.
It was a secondary stat, and he had a -2. It was critical to even get it, and there was just no way he was going to win that. And at that point, that one was kind of a freebie too. So I think all of the challenges weren't that challenging for the most part, which kind of made it a little bit easier to follow the plan.
Listen, you don't have to be great at holding your alcohol to enjoy drinking alcohol.
No, I agree.
That's true.
He was just rolling in the deep.
He was. Well,
I don't know that
two
he's a
and
functional
-2.
drunk.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
can't
even
believe
sure how much of a drunk he is. It's like he gets completely shammered
Tasted a little bit, and he's done.
on one like domestic beer, and he just like passes
Hey,
out.
he made it to
That's
3 tastings of the wine,
Didn't even swallow.
and then he got slapped in the face, and
He
eventually
didn't even
got back
swallow.
up.
He was just swishing and spitting, and he's still passed out.
what I like is that Jason's character went up and slapped him in the face, and essentially all he did for that battle was get up and stumble off the battlefield with the rest of the crowd.
Well, it was like, get up, do something, man. And then the fight was over, so.
Yeah, I'll get right after that. Just stumbles off with all the people.
Yeah.
and my character found him later on after the fight to drink some more. And I don't know how he did, though. I apparently criticaled on that.
You did.
Yeah.
Well, we know the Espalini can hold their drink.
Yeah, they just can't fight.
Can't hit for shit.
No.
It's probably that 6th finger that they have.
Yeah.
And hit the broadside of a barn.
Well, you
So
do-
is the whole theory of Espalini being dragon slayers, like, is that just them talking themselves up?
No, don't let that legend ride on Todd's shoulders.
Thanks.
You guys are 0 for 2 dragons being killed so far. I have faith that you'll kill the blue one.
Actually, 0 for 3, because we had 2 dragons in the first encounter.
That is true.
Yeah.
I got faith you'll kill the third one. I mean, you got to. You have to take its rib, and I don't know how else you're going to get its rib unless you kill it.
well, it'll be real interesting if we don't.
Now there's a
Void
challenge.
magic, just rip off a chunk of his side.
Yeah, try and get the rib without killing the dragon. That would probably make the Ninth Council happy. Come back into town and go, we know you were dragon hunting. Well, we didn't kill it. We haven't killed any dragons.
They didn't say anything about maiming or harming. They just said don't kill the thing.
That's true. So if we don't kill it and
Following
pull
the
out
law.
the rib and it dies later, that's not on us.
That's not a problem, yeah.
Mm-mm.
Truthful, lawful, evil characters, the lot of you.
I will say that the entire time Adele was passed out, as a player, we're all evil people. My first thought was steal all his shit. Everyone's distracted.
Yeah.
Well, I think
so,
it's though that we're evil lawful, so it wouldn't be necessarily that we would be for stealing. Like that's why my character just laid him back down on the table and left him. Like, all right, you're a waste.
Like that's not the characters we're playing this time. But most evil characters, there's a guy passed out here. No one's paying attention. Steal their shit.
I have a question for Greg. Why did you save? Is it Nemeth? Is that right?
Nemeth.
Why did you save Nemeth for one, and then for two, after you saved him, you didn't even mention that you were the one who saved him to wipe off your debt?
So, I had saved him to wipe off the debt. And I had intended on speaking to him about it after the battle.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I had mentioned that I wanted to catch up with him. But it was nearing the end of the night, and I was tired, and I forgot.
I see. Okay. So it was intentional, which is fine.
Yes.
So it's better that you were intending to, but you realize that you didn't have a debt if he's dead too, right?
I was actually going to ask about that. And I had the thought of letting the dragon kill some of the Ninth Council. But given the story that we're playing, it seemed better to try and preserve the Ninth Council so these people don't die. Especially if we have to work with them and use them in the future for political gain.
I personally think that they would have killed it without us. Like,
Probably.
They actually, I think the Ninth Council did more damage to both the 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐤 and to the dragon than we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐤 almost killed one of them.
Right.
And the dragon probably could have taken another one out.
I think they just... I guess Joshua can answer that. But that was my impression, is that we were support and not necessarily the heroes in that particular situation.
It was more that you guys were support. I mean, not to mention, I know you guys were kind of like directing the crowds out and the citizens out, but all of them are 𝐸𝐻ians too. They're all magic users as well. Like, they started funneling out because the general was telling them to funnel out, but they are all... I mean, it's like Sparta in the sense that everyone's a warrior. Everyone can fight.
Well, okay. I have a follow-up question about that here in a minute, but I don't know that... I kind of answered for you in regard to Greg's question, so I don't know if you want to actually field that first.
What specifically to Greg's question?
What question?
You were talking about killing, like, letting the Carrion Council die and things like that.
I mean, the Carrion Council will survive.
The Ninth Council.
Ninth Council.
We're all misspeaking. The Ninth Council will survive regardless if some of these characters do die. I mean, some of them have names that are very important for the ongoing piece of the story that happens later on, but they're not the only ones that carry that name. Like, if 𝐸𝐻ians would have died, there's still 𝐸𝐻ians, which carries on the 𝐸𝐻 name.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the other folks that are in the Carrion Council aren't folks that have the same names of members that have it 1,000 years later. So if they ended up passing, there would just be somebody else that would step into their place and take one of those seats in order of, like, ruling over it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The council would not collapse because one of these individuals died.
Well, my thought was, you kept talking about how we're not supposed to rock the boat, we can't murder the Ninth Council and all that.
This is true.
So I took it as these are people that, for story purposes, we need to protect and manipulate.
It's more of story purposes that your characters' names all carry on somewhere, and you breaking a law within the city that would result in your death would disrupt the story.
Okay, so it would have been perfectly fine for the game if I'd have just let them...
Yeah, if you hadn't intervened, that would have been fine. But you intervening and directly trying to kill somebody would probably go against your character's storyline.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So we can kill people so long as we get away with it.
That's what I'm hearing.
As long as they're like NPC or townsperson, we can kill them. If they have an actual name, you're not supposed to kill them.
Yeah, townsperson 47's.
Well, it also comes down to John and you and I talk about this a lot in terms of, like, the difference between chaotic evil, neutral evil, and lawful evil. I mean, John's character is a neutral evil character, so he may step into the place of breaking the law. But for everyone else, you know that murder, right, and taking, like, a direct action is against the law. So you're kind of morally bound not to want to go that direction because it is part of the laws of the area. But to not take an action and somebody to die from that, there's not a law that says that you have to intervene to protect somebody. But to directively try to murder somebody would be against the law.
I don't know if morally is the right word there, but yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe that's not the right word, but you're convicted in some way.
Yeah.
To respond in that way. John, maybe not so much. John might take the thing and be like, hey, he's going to take some of the poison from Todd's pocket and use it to poison somebody because it doesn't really affect his consciousness to be able to do that. But for everyone
as long as the rest of us doesn't know about it.
As long as the rest of you didn't know about it. Yeah.
Okay, so...
Now, see, because I like in that fight, for my character, I was thinking, oh, should I run and help people? And part of me was like, no, I'm not. Like, these aren't my people. But I just saw the quickest way to get out of here is towards the bridge. That's why I sprinted across to the bridge to free it up. And if people made it, they made it. But otherwise, I didn't feel bound to, especially since most of these people seem to represent a threat to my community with the Ninth Council. I was okay with them, dying or something happening to them. It wasn't until everyone else started stepping up that it was like, all right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's very much where Eretmir is at. I mean, you've kind of been given direction by the Carrion Council to look for a snake in the grass, if you will, among your companions and to watch what's going on and to help protect their legacy for future alliances with your people. But you're not bound to protect any of them. Like, this is some of the moral stuff you guys should be kind of struggling with as you're engaging in these situations of am I actually, I don't know, bound to want to help here or to engage here? I mean, even with Jason's character, whose mother has told him, don't go out wasting your spells and doing stuff to help people needlessly. Let the other folks cast their spells. And I don't even know how many mana you used in that battle, Jason. Instead of stepping back and going
4 or 5,
let all the Stuhians around me kill themselves. What allegiance do I have to them? I could just step back and let them do it and do the bare minimum.
I used 2, 3.
Something like that.
One of them wasn't for the fight, though.
That's true. Yeah. I'm not picking on you guys. I'm like,
One
that's
was just
some
to
of
be
the,
a dick.
That's some of the stuff that you guys as characters, I think, would be struggling with is where's your allegiance actually at? Where do you actually step in? What do you actually want to see have happen?
Right. Well, I mean, for Dawn, he didn't even need to go. He was outside of it to begin with. But at the same time, the Vucari are a threat, and he recognizes that if the city falls, then that is also a danger to his family. So he kind of feels obligated to protect the city just because that's currently where he resides, even if the city is not necessarily for him. Because that's more important.
And I think that's true for everybody, that the people of 𝐤𝐤𝐤 is like a commodity, if you will, that your families have governed over for a long period of time. And you find it dutiful to protect the people of 𝐤𝐤𝐤 and keep them alive. But you could be in the battle and go, well, I can protect the people of 𝐤𝐤𝐤 and 𝐸𝐸math can die. I don't need him.
Which brings me back to why even save him. Because he could die.
I had intended on using that. I just forgot by the end of the night when we were talking about it.
Right. Well, which is, again, that's fine that it's that wipes your debt free, but it doesn't necessarily put you, it doesn't put him in your debt. It makes you equal. And then that means that you're equal and you still have a member of the Ninth Council alive that could otherwise be dead.
Yeah, but as a member of the Ninth Council, he was the one that's more closely aligned to the Carrion Council. I mean, he's kind of on the fence, and so actually losing him may mean someone more to the Ninth.
Fanatic.
And at the same time, showing the treachery of this guy, and if he's more closely aligned to the Ninth Council, seems to show that maybe there's cracks or there's something going on in the Ninth Council that might be exploitable as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My intention was to create a rapport with him. I saved his life. Sure, we're even. But he knows that I'm willing to go that far for him. Mm-hmm. And then we can play on that later on, and we've got an insider on the council.
Yeah.
Plus his sister's hot.
Is the long term.
Yeah.
He's pretty hot too, Todd.
Sure.
I think, who was it that winked at her, though? Someone winked at her, I thought.
Yeah, 𝐸𝐤𝐤 keeps winking it. You can't get her name right.
I can't.
Karina.
Yeah.
Karina.
Is that important? Oh.
Katarina, Katana.
Carlia?
No.
All right, so I think we were at some winky talk.
Winky talk.
Yeah.
𝐸𝐤𝐤 likes to wink.
𝐸𝐤𝐤 likes to wink at the sister whenever he can, even though he can't remember her name.
Yeah.
And he's naked jumping over a bonfire.
I felt it was important.
I just want to point out on that.
Or the winking?
Both.
𝐸𝐤𝐤 never put his clothes back on after the event.
Narratively, it never occurred.
That's true.
Narratively, he was running around naked.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But there was no point in the narrative that he said, "I am redressing myself." He just walked around in the buff the rest of the time.
Did not say
Which
that.
Begs the question where he kept those crossbow bolts.
He got some extras in the prison pocket.
Oh boy.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I know one. I did want to just compliment you all on how well you did in like navigating the time scale of getting things done, especially John with getting Need out of there, not knowing specifically that a battle was coming. Because as a GM, I was very concerned about her being there and what that was going to do for your character of having to determine how you were going to respond with an attack and your daughter being amongst the fray.
Oh, I would have
Right.
been gone.
I think that would have been fun.
I was concerned on how I was going to manage that because I had stuff set up and I was like, this is going to be rough.
Yeah, no, I got the inkling based off of the last like couple of sessions where there was kind of a conversation around the idea that the time scale for the Vucari could change because they've been attacked and so on and so forth. And so I was like, there's probably going to be something that happens tonight. So I was trying to get her out of there. From a player perspective, I expected something to happen, even if I didn't know specifically what.
Yeah.
I actually was expecting it in the morning after the fact.
That's when I expected it to happen.
Like,
was in the
I
morning.
expected they'd move up the timetable, but I figured we'd have this evening to do the thing, we'd go do the dragon, and we'd come back to the city being attacked by the
Right.
Vucari.
That's exactly what I thought was going to happen.
No,
Not to say that can't happen anyway.
You guys did a pretty nice job fighting them back, and I even though you guys possibly could have gotten to a point of killing the dragon that came in, I was excited that I was able to get the dragon out, which shows the intelligence of the dragons themselves to not just stay there and fight to the death. Because I feel like every game I always play, dragons fight to the death, and this was one of those instances where the dragon didn't just stand there and take it.
Right.
So, was your plan for the dragon to just cause chaos and retreat from the beginning? Or was it there to murder as much as it could?
It was there to murder. But you guys had gotten the town. Honestly, the plan was to kill as many of the townspeople groups. They all had life pools. Like, I didn't knock out one. But the plan was for them to come in and start knocking out townspeople as quick as possible. And then you guys would be berated for how much life was lost. And not protecting them, but only
no. We focus very heavily on getting them people out.
So this is where my question that I had earlier comes into play here, because you've mentioned several times that everybody in the town is a combatant and is capable of participating in warfare, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But these groups of civilians, I think, did jack all during that fight. They didn't seem to actually do anything helpful at all. So I'm a little bit curious, like, is that just because the general's like, oh, back up? But that doesn't make a whole lot of sense when we're under attack. It's like we have, I don't know how many people were attending, but it's like we have like 100 people. There's like 10 Vucari attacking. If we were to all just like focus fire, there would have been very little threat to us. But because 90 out of the 100 people present decided to go huddle in the middle of the little island we were on, that seemed to make things more difficult for us. Even the civilians in the group under attack by the spider just kind of stood there and died. They didn't really seem to do anything.
So, of course, what you're talking about is what you guys could see on the map. I actually had on the combat tracker tons of other tokens that I didn't populate on there because I just didn't want to drag down Fantasy Grounds while we were playing.
Which is always a thing.
Yeah, but in my mind, and I honestly did not describe this well or speak about this well, and I think I was feeling limited by the time constraints, too, of knowing that we were going to be ending the game there pretty shortly. But they're actually fighting Vucari coming in from all sorts of different directions and fighting different pieces. And so it was kind of just like eclipsing like the overall that was happening as they're being attacked by certain things and having them being taken out. And I know this is something that you know, John, because you helped me write the Blood of Dragons series, but although all Styuhians have magical prowess and magical ability, they have different levels of power based on their bloodline. Right. So you guys as characters are able to generate more power and have more mana to cast regularly, where some of these other ones, even though they are able to cast magic, it's not as strong as the magic that you can cast. And so they can do it, but it's not as strong. But a lot of what was on the map in terms of the big groups being attacked by things, that's just trying to not have 50 Vucari on the map that are coming from all directions. And I was knocking out people on my combat tracker, like, oh, they died this round, now they died this round, type of thing, as though they were attacking them.
Yeah, and I can appreciate that. I've done the same thing, and you've played enough in the Fantasy Grounds stuff where it's like you really cannot populate the 100 people that you want. And so I think it's important, you know, even if we understand that, for anybody watching to realize that there are those limitations that sometimes you can't, and the explanation is helpful to go, okay, listen, this was actually a big to do. There were Vucari everywhere. The townspeople were fighting the Vucari. There was a bit of you know, this. I don't know the word I want to say, but there
skirmish.
But there was a larger battle taking place than just what was described or visible to some degree.
Right.
Yeah, I know that you're doing the cutting of the video, and I felt it during our recording. Like, I felt like I was just like saying shit. Like, I was just like, "Hey, there's a panther, and there's some wolves, and over here's a bear," and I'm like, and these guys shoot this, but let's just move on to the next guy because there's like so many people in my combat tracker.
Yeah,
I was trying to keep the focus on what you guys were doing, and not the 100 people that I had on there that I just
I think for the first round or so, you went through a lot of the individual combatants, and after the first round, you were basically like, okay, everybody's gone this round, let's go to the next round, and just kind of skipping through, which I think was good, because it you knowing what happens on the back end and kind of keeping track of that, and then just saying, you know, in the story, okay, they're pulling back, these ones are moving here, and so on and so forth. That's helpful, rather than having a blow by blow of every civilian and, you know, rat that happens to come into the battlefield.
So I am curious.
All those damn birds.
I was going to say that I found the. I just want to say I found the battle actually fun, because I know sometimes doing the larger battles, it can be tedious and it's long wait. And I think that you did a great job of moving through groups and stuff. And I like the fact that it was like, oh, he's skipping and just jumping down to here, and that made it flow really nice. And it was able to. I also want to say, though, that two reasons the groups of people maybe weren't fighting as well. They could have been terrible drinkers like Andre, and they may have played too many of those divination games and used all their mana. So they may not have had any mana.
Could have been.
Yeah, all of them were 70-year-olds because they just went a little bit too hard.
They came in as toddlers and they left as elderly.
What I like about it, and I'll just go ahead and share this now because I don't know if it'll come out later in gameplay, but it was the releasing of the lanterns on the water that was their signal that the party had started. That was a natural thing that they knew about the celebration, that let them know when you guys had started doing things to start moving into position and getting where they needed to be at, which is a lot of fun. But I'm curious, I know we're going to start running out of time here. What are you guys' thoughts on 𝐸𝐸? I know that you guys aren't really familiar with him much as an NPC, but there's definitely a betrayal there. He attacked Nemeth Kluk. You know that his wife is his voivode. He took half of his army essentially outside of the city. I'm just wondering if there's any like theories about what you guys think is going on from a player perspective.
I think he's in on it in some fashion. I think it was he knew about Nemeth's reservations, I think, on what was happening.
He was working for the Ninth Council.
Yeah, I do too. I think
he was working for the Vucari. I mean, because moving the army out and moving half of them out, and we have no idea what's happened to them. And my thought is we're going to find out they're dead, or something has happened to them, which strategically weakens your forces.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, of whatever would have been spun about how he died, if that was to sow dissent or something, to me that seems like a great way to try to ruin the defenses of a town and having the attacks come.
I agree.
Well, it seems to me, because like session 2 or something, we overheard people in the Ninth Council talking about wanting to ally with the Vucari, bring peace with the Vucari and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't seem like much of a stretch for the Ninth Council to send Goran and his army to go bolster the Vucari and open those peace ties there, with the exchange of them being able to come in and murder half the �ฑ𝐸ans or whatever.
Well, if they were bargaining with the Vucari and the Vucari were attacking, like the most of the attacks were against the Ninth Council itself. So if they were trying to reach out to the Vucari for those peace talks, they couldn't have occurred yet, I don't think, or the Ninth Council was unaware of it. So
Yeah.
I feel like maybe Goran had something to do with like the attack on Nemeth, but I don't know that. It doesn't make a ton of sense that they were in on the wife going out of the city.
As in the Ninth Council wasn't in on it.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, that is. I don't think that would.
Yeah, that part doesn't track. I do think he was part of it. I think Nemeth, either one of two things. I think Nemeth either had ulterior motives that Goran found out, or Goran knew about Nemeth's swaying loyalties, right?
Or Nemeth knew something that Goran
Or
didn't,
yeah.
Goran didn't want out.
I thought it. Yeah, it's one of those two things. Now, I do think I expected that to go down a little bit differently with when I kind of nudged Kel, like, hey, looky there, you know. I did it. I was honestly just trying to get Kel killed. Is really why I did it. I didn't think Nemeth would live that long against Sir Goran. And I thought Sir Goran would take him out and then kill Kel is really kind of what I was going for. Didn't play out that way, but that's what I was going for.
I think it probably could have. Well, it definitely would have if Greg hadn't intervened.
Yeah.
But I think that it could have potentially if Kel had delayed or had other like if a Vucari had encountered, if Goran had the opportunity to actually go one-on-one with Nemeth, I think he would have won.
Mm-hmm.
Could have. And that's the only reason, and that's why I didn't do anything else other than that. I was like, he'll be fine, or he won't be. I don't know.
I will point out that there was a Vucari bird over in that corner of the map that didn't actually go for like 2 turns.
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible that fight could have gone a lot different.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, Stuhians are fighting Stuhians. Why would the Vucari intervene?
To kill more Stuhians?
But if they're killing each other...
Nah, I think that bird didn't go for a reason.
So, do you want to use your Speak to Dead on... Oh.
I considered it. I really did.
Oh,
I did.
That's a good one.
I really did.
I didn't even think about that.
Sircon's coming out of this campaign with the saggiest balls.
Yeah.
Pendulous.
Big old Santa beard.
Can we, like, hire another cleric to do it? Like, can he find someone that's, like, a lower than him, and he'd be like, hey, I need you to do this?
I mean,
someone a little younger?
They didn't even heal you, Eretmir. Bastards.
I knew he was going to live, and we were sleeping. There was no point. I wasn't going to waste the mana.
Not you healing Eretmir, but like the Ninth Council. Like they talk all this. They talk all this shit about. Oh, we've got this esteemed guest. We want to make sure that we're going to maintain these talks. Blah blah blah. And Eretmir like face tanks the damn dragon and is like, I'm really hurt here. Can someone help me? They're like, you're fine.
You're fine. Here's some bandages.
Let's
just for a moment, though, put ourselves in that mindset, right? Though, like, you are a lawful, evil, ageless creature that lives 1,000 years, and you got a guy that comes in that might live 60 to 80 years who gets injured, and you're going to waste 60 of your years to bring him back to life when he's just going to die anyway, regardless of time.
If you have a concept of the longer period of time in which an alliance is formed with these people, and if you want that alliance to persist, they don't have to they didn't have to go crazy. They could go the same level of healing that Jason did on Kel, where it's just like, here, let me give you some Tylenol for that. At least it's a gesture of goodwill.
Yeah.
Here's your little blue pill, Todd. Just
he's over here fighting to keep you all alive, and then.
I see an issue with your logic there, Josh.
I don't know. I mean,
if you're immortal or whatever, like,
I mean, but they're not
giving
immortal.
a year to the guy isn't.
They're not immortal. They're ageless, but only as long as they're not casted. So
But
it's like you're gonna be fine in 3 days. Like,
Yeah,
take
but
some
I feel like-
bandages, 3 days you'll be fine, or I can waste years of my life healing you right now in this moment.
But it wouldn't have been anybody specific in the Ninth Council who did it. It would be
Right.
them going and grabbing a sacred person who is loyal to them
Mhm.
and making them cast the spell.
This
which
is true, but
which is
but
kind of what they do.
But sacred
And-
masters are very limited. They'd probably rather keep that person to save themselves than on an emissary.
Yeah, I still think it would be beneficial to their alliance if they actually wanted to preserve it. I feel like they're telling this Bellini to fuck off. That's what I think.
Yeah.
I hear your argument. I think it's a good argument. I don't know. It's for me,
Next
it's a
time,
flip of a
Eric
coin.
Mirror, you just need to stand there and watch as they get
Oh,
slaughtered.
and believe me.
Look, it's a dragon. Oh, looky there.
it's
Oh,
Yeah.
look.
not harming me or my people, so apparently I can't touch it.
no, you can't.
Not going to put my life at risk because it's of no value to you people.
That dragon just burnt down your home and ate your wife. That's sad.
That's
I
unfortunate.
could have
That's
stopped
unfortunate.
it.
Here's some bandages.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Oh my
'Cause,
goodness.
yeah, they gave you what, a dozen bandages or something?
No, 10.
Not
Ten
even a
bandages.
dozen. Not even a dozen.
Yeah.
Wow, so cheap.
All right, what else you guys got to talk about? Is that it? Think so? Yeah. All
I think
blank
so.
faces?
I mean, it was a good episode. I thought I enjoyed
Yeah.
the
I-
fight.
it went
enjoyed
well.
I enjoyed all of it. Yeah.
Yeah, games were fun. Fighting was
Yeah.
fun. All of it was good. I just wish that my spell had landed. That was a lot of mana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the one that I used to heal Aramir with, that one paid for itself in spades. If
The
his
Wither
D12,
yeah.
was
if his
solid.
D12 was a little bit higher, I would have been real happy with it. But I did a lot of damage with that one. That one was good.
Yeah.
The
I
damage was
apologize.
great. The healing was.
Yeah.
I
That's how it
apologize if that wasn't written better. I had to go read it because I was like, oh, I know what I meant when I wrote it, so I had to go read
Yeah.
it again. And I was like,
It
oh,
just,
it's
I just wasn't. It's fine. It worked out.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's what we got for you guys tonight. So I hope you join us again in our next episode of the Ninth Ascension coming next week. We'll see you then. Hit the like button, subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.